it's a good afternoon type of day. I'm confused. I don't know how to feel. I didn't know what to title my show because I am confused with New York sports. I don't know how to feel. My Yankees just got eliminated by maple syrup. This is what eliminated the New York Yankees. A bottle of maple syrup. I really don't know how to feel. You know what? The maple syrup deserves to be showed today. We're keeping that here. I mean, that was it. There was no dramatic walk-off, no signature moment, just a slow, sticky elimination straight out of Canada. The Blue Jays cooked us, they glazed us, and they stacked us like pancakes. I'm so sticky right now. I feel like Alex Rodriguez in 2014. Trying to clean it up, but somehow just making the situation worse. I haven't seen the Bronx this glued up since Aaron Boone tried to manage a bullpen with vibes and duct tape. But hey, there's hope. My New York Giants are back, baby. I have a Lombardi trophy here because this is how the Giants have me feeling. For the first time in a long time, it feels good to say I'm a Giants fan. Jackson Dart looked like Eli Manning if he had a working pair of legs. Because if you don't know, Eli Manning cannot rush. Cam Scatterbo ran through the Eagles' offense like they were a toll booth and he was an easy pass. Brian Burns was collecting sacks like they were Pokemon. It was unreal. Somehow the Giants actually looked like a competent team. I realized my mic volume was really low there. I apologize. I was really amped up for that. So yeah, the Yankees are out golfing. The Mets are tweeting through it. But Big Blue's back. Got a Lombardi trophy here to celebrate the situation from the Giants last Thursday. For the first time in years, the Giants didn't make me want to throw something through my TV. Coming up, the Giants take down the Eagles in a Thursday night thriller. The Yankees get their season ended by a bottle of maple syrup. The Rangers have issues only the Rangers can explain, but the Knicks might actually be sneaking their way into championship contender status. Plus, I'll tell you why this bottle of maple syrup is now banned from my breakfast table. Throw that out of there. So we'll start off with the Giants. Man, guys, had a little bit of fun there. I thought that was pretty cool. Giants stunned the Eagles Thursday night, took them down by a score of 34-17. Nice little statement win for my New York Giants for Big Blue. Why does the mic keep doing this? I am going to crash out. There we go. Now it don't want to move. Good. So, easily their most complete performance of the season. Probably their most complete performance since 2012. Definitely had me feeling like 2012 last Thursday night against the Eagles. Jackson Dart, he managed to get himself 195 yards. He had a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown. But the true story was Cam Scatterbo, who rushed for 3 rushing touchdowns. First rookie to do so since 2013. Giants defense, not anything to sneeze at as well. Cordell Flott had a 68-yard interception. Brian Burns had 2 sacks. Like I said, collecting those sacks like they were Pokemon. And as New York shut out the Eagles in their second consecutive loss, are they now contenders in the NFC? For the first time all season, the Giants have looked cohesive and confident on the field, while the Eagles' offense was nowhere to be found, managing just 20 yards after halftime. The win obviously moved the Giants to 2-4. Eagles still on top of the division, 4-2. The NFC has their top, I think, 13 teams being 3-3 or better. So that's 13 out of 16 teams having a 500 or better record. Going to be really tough for the Giants to sneak in there. Going to get into that. But should Giants fans be optimistic from Thursday? Here's what I have to say about it. You know, I mentioned that this is the best feeling I've had since 2012. This is the most optimistic I've been. Heck, I have a Lombardi trophy right here. Thank you to my friend Kenny for giving this to me because this came in handy today. That'll be a nice shot for someone that wants to take a screenshot of that. You know, I said I'm feeling the best since 2012. I saw the Giants win a Super Bowl. That's right. I saw them win 2 Super Bowls. 2007 counts too. I know I was 2 years old, just crawling around, but I probably have a memory or two tucked away of that Super Bowl. You know, a QB that has a brain is something that I didn't expect from the New York Giants after letting go of Daniel Jones. You know, I like to say we haven't had a good quarterback since Manning, but who has there really been since Manning? You know, just Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito here and there. Am I missing someone? Tyrod Taylor got a start, I think. You know, but really the big name was Daniel Jones. Eli Manning retired in 2019, but it feels like an eternity ago because we haven't been winning. You know, winning would really help. You know, Jackson Dart, I spoke a lot last week about the negatives, about how I didn't like a lot what I saw from Jackson Dart against the Saints last Sunday. This Thursday, completely different story. I tried to tell y'all this Giants team would take down the Eagles. I wish it was for their first loss. I do. I really thought it was going to be for their first loss. Would have helped the narrative tremendously. I would have been really up. Like, you think I'm up now? If that had been the Eagles' first loss, I think you would have seen me take a victory lap around the studio. Probably around the whole floor. Probably would have a dolly shot of me running around the 3rd floor of the Murphy Center. You know, Dart 17 for 25, 195 yards, rush for 58 on 13 carries. He has become just the 3rd quarterback in the Super Bowl era to rush for at least 50 yards in each of his first 3 games. The last to do so was Baltimore's Lamar Jackson. You know, being in the same conversation as a guy like Lamar, perennial MVP candidate, one of the best quarterbacks there is. Obviously, the Ravens this season have been the Ravens. They haven't been great at all. They're now hoping and praying. Why is the chair on that side? I just realized that. Why is the chair over here? You know what? Let me move that chair. Sorry, that chair was blocking my beauty. The camera probably couldn't even pick me up. Now you guys can see me. You know, when you're in the same conversation as a guy like Lamar Jackson, perennial MVP candidate, the Ravens on the doorstep of winning the Super Bowl year in and year out, can never get it finished ever. I don't think that's a Lamar issue. I think that's just a Ravens issue. That's always great to see, especially from a quarterback this young, Jackson Dart, you know, and just his 3rd start, already in rarefied territory. Amazing for Dart. Can't wait to see what he has the rest of the season. But Saquon, you caused this. You caused this loss. You released a documentary bashing my New York Giants on the same day you played them on Thursday Night Football, on the same platform that Thursday Night Football is on in Prime Video. You thought you were doing something there. You thought you would win, and it would be a nice documentary to play after. That didn't happen, Saquon. People were just laughing at you all night long. Saquon, I believed in you. I trusted you. I thought you were going to be one of the best running backs of all time. But this I can't support. I can't support Saquon in releasing his documentary the same day as playing the New York Giants. It was foolish by Saquon, and I think caused a lot of animosity on the field. We saw Brian Daboll get really fired up. I think this Giants team was invigorated by knowing that Saquon Barkley was releasing his documentary on the same day. Brian Daboll got some jabs in before the game, talking about, hey, I'd be mad if I was AJ Brown too, because I'm always open, just poking the bear. You did this to yourself, and I'm happy it happened because the Eagles really needed to get knocked down a peg. And I'm so happy it was my New York Giants to do that. Saquon, you got embarrassed by Cam Skattebo out there, a rookie. You've been embarrassed by Cam Skattebo all season long. Cam Skattebo on the season, 82 rushing attempts, 338 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. That is a good running back. 4 yards a carry is probably what separates the great running backs and the good/average running backs. Cam Skattebo is doing that. He's not only doing that, but he's bringing an energy I've never seen onto the field. My favorite Giants player in a really long time. I think a conversation a lot of people were having was, without Malik Nabers, how are the Giants going to have this energy that, invigorates this group, leads to wins? And we're seeing that now with the combination of Skattebo and Dart. Well, Saquon on the season, 325 rushing yards, 3.4 yards a carry. Both worse than Cam Skattebo. What happened to the guy that almost broke the rushing record last year? Is this just a case of someone being gassed out? It happens with relievers a lot in baseball. They'll have a good season one year, and then the next year, they're a shell of themselves. Is this just another situation of that? I don't know. I think it's kind of too early to tell with Saquon, but the big story around Saquon isn't his production on the field. It is him releasing that documentary on the same day. And it's something that really made me upset as a Giants fan, someone that wanted to see him back. Always wished the best for Saquon, now getting bashed by Saquon on national television. Moving on. More Giants. Brian Daboll got himself into a little bit of trouble last Thursday. Daboll, I just want to say thank you, because I feel like not enough people are saying thank you. I didn't want to see Russell Wilson out there either. Get Dart back in there. I don't care what it takes. Throw some tape on this guy's helmet, throw him back out. I saw Russell Wilson throw 2 incomplete passes. They're in a 4th down situation. I don't want Russ out there. I'd rather have Jameis Winston out there. But Daboll, you can't go into the medical tent. I understand the direness of the situation. I do. Because I was yelling at my TV too. I was happy when Daboll did it on live television. I gotta admit. I was happy that there was a coach with as much urgency as me as a fan. But you gotta know the situation. If you're Daboll, you gotta know you can't do that. Dart is an investment. He's a first-round pick. Let him get checked out. Let him get checked out fully. I know it sucks to see Russell Wilson out there. You don't want to see him out there on a first down, let alone a 4th down situation. But what Dart is he's an investment. As a first-round pick, especially, you're a very expensive investment. Might keep moving. It's gonna make me mad. Not as mad as Daboll, though. The question I think surrounding this is the NFL's investigation. Yeah, I'm looking at you, NFL. I don't know why they're investigating the Giants. Really don't. No, I do. I do. You got to protect the players on the field. The players are not only investments, they're not only great athletes, they are above that human beings, and human beings have to be treated a certain way, and it's not this way by Brian Daboll. The question is, will this investigation, dampen some of the energy around the Giants? No, this team is allergic to bad energy. I watched Jackson Dart speak in the post game, electric post game with Micah Fitzpatrick. Taking his shirt off with Scattaboo, just speaks to volumes to how much energy this Giants team has this year in comparison to other years. Dart said, I just think there's at times some negativity that's surrounding here. For us, some of the new guys that are coming here, we just got here. So we don't feel like we were involved in the past. We've got a lot of winners on this team who come out every single day, work really hard to put a good showing on Sundays. So to me, this speaks volumes to the locker room of the New York Giants. I talk a lot about locker room culture. I realize I've already spent 16 minutes talking about the Giants. Still haven't touched on the Yankees. That is coming up. Let me be Professor Landon for a second. Daboll, just a quick lesson to wrap this Giants talk up until I touch on them again in the second half hour. Daboll, do not yell at the team doctor while there is a player in the medical tent. It will avoid a lot of trouble. It will avoid this question being asked, but the answer to the question is no. This team is allergic to bad energy. We're coming for this Lombardi trophy, okay? Moving on. The Blue Jays took down the Yankees in 4 games. I'm really sad. I'm really sad my team got beaten by maple syrup. Bring the maple syrup back. I know I threw it off the table earlier. Maple syrup. We got this is what we got beaten by. Little bird on a maple syrup bottle. That's what took down the New York Yankees. No, but what really took down the New York Yankees was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being a stud, being this young star athlete, leading his team past a juggernaut New York Yankees franchise. The loss, obviously eliminated the Yankees. It marked another disappointment for them. The Blue Jays now taking on Seattle, not doing so hot, have game 3 tonight, have to face Rye native George Kirby tonight. That's always a tough assignment. And I think that speaks a lot to the Mariners' rotation. It is one of the best in the league. And when George Kirby is starting a game 3, you got to know how deep that rotation is. Yes, the Blue Jays have a great offense, but it has been on and off, especially when you look into the home and road splits. They haven't been nearly as good on the road. And especially when you're playing in a place like, it's not Safeco anymore. I think it's T-Mobile Park out in Seattle. It's going to be tough to get that offense going out there. You're back home in Toronto tonight. Let's see if that changes anything in regards to questions around the Toronto Blue Jays. Because believe it or not, they might just be a bottle of maple syrup that took down the New York Yankees. Nothing more than that. So Aaron Judge seemed to snap out of his postseason slump in 2025. Aaron Judge batted 500, 13 hits, a homer, 7 RBIs, 5 runs scored. That home run, one of the biggest in postseason history. For me, this postseason, I spoke last week on it, how I'm tired of the narrative that Aaron Judge just can't produce once the calendar hits October. But that's not the case. In fact, he recorded an OPS of 836, while his counterpart star, the one that everyone likes to put on this pedestal, Shohei Ohtani, had an OPS of 385 in the World Series in 2024. Yes, the Dodgers won that series, but Shohei Ohtani was not the reason, not even close to it. So why this different criticism for Aaron Judge? You know, according to the postseason stats, when you compare him to a guy like Ohtani, 65 postseason games, he's at 236, on base of 346 for an OPS of 822. That puts him in the elite category of hitters. Yes, it's not Aaron Judge, over 1,000 OPS, MVP Aaron Judge. It's not, but it's still elite production from a guy in the middle of the order, and you can't take that lightly. Aaron Judge is not a liability. He is the standard. And yes, Ohtani's generational. He is a generational talent. He is one of the best talents I have ever seen. I am thankful I get to watch Ohtani, but I'm tired of the glazing, of him being on a different pedestal from everyone. You can't criticize Ohtani because he pitches and he hits. Well, Judge doesn't need to pitch because he simply carries lineups. He's produced in elimination games. He tied David Ortiz with 6 home runs in elimination games. David Ortiz, someone that's put on a pedestal as one of the best producers in the postseason. Why is Aaron Judge not on that level? Well, the answer is they don't have a World Series. And who does that blame come down to? Well, for the fans right now, it's surrounding Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about this Yankees analytics department that has seemingly plagued them the past decade or so. So, yes, Aaron Boone seemingly not doing enough to keep his job. Brian Cashman not doing enough to keep his job. But what's the underlying factor here that I feel like not enough fans are taking into account? It was a big story this offseason, the analytics department. So the Yankees were supposed to have an outside company come in, do an audit on the Yankees analytics department, point out the weaknesses, the strengths of how Steinbrenner brags to be the best analytics department in all of baseball, has been more of a detriment to the New York Yankees than a tool. And there is one man that has been with this organization since the year I was born, 2005, and has led this analytics department, Mike Fishman. Mike Fishman has been with this department since 2005. That's 20 years. They have one World Series to show for it in 2009. And a boatload of disappointment. So why is it that Mike Fishman is still with this organization? They said that they were going to bring someone in to help him in the offseason. I don't know if they did that or not, but by the looks of it, they didn't. What happened to this analytics overload that Hal Steinbrenner was bragging about this past offseason? What happened to this state-of-the-art analytics department that Aaron Boone has been criticized for blindly following, which Susan Waldman has said that's not the case. He's in lockstep with the analytics department. So that means that Aaron Boone is choosing to do this himself. It is not a job protection move from Aaron Boone. It's simply his choice. So why isn't Aaron Boone even nitpicking the analytics department? Because it hasn't been working. There are field managers and there are number managers. And right now, I feel like Aaron Boone is leaning way too much into the number side of things. And I don't even know if Aaron Boone has a feel for baseball. And I think this all comes down to one man, Mike Fishman. Coming up, how much does this loss prove about the New York Yankees? Coming up in the second half hour of this show. But first, a message. Let's play a little music. WIUR Sports are back again on Wednesday night as women's soccer heads to Connecticut to play Sacred Heart in a crucial MAC showdown. Full MAC coverage begins at 6 p.m. on WIUR Sports on Mixler. So if you can't tell, I really don't know how to feel about New York sports, and the Rangers aren't helping. The Rangers really aren't helping. Through their first 5 games, the New York Rangers have endured 6 straight periods without scoring their past 2 games. Have a historical drought at home, not scoring in 9 straight periods there. An almost unfathomable drought for a place like Madison Square Garden that is normally regarded as a strength to any team that plays there. What's truly making me upset and kind of confused is they're dominating the analytics side of things. They outshot the Edmonton Oilers 30-22 last night, and they held their own in high danger situations. Yet they still left Madison Square Garden not only with a loss, but without scoring a goal. So is this a conversation of shot selection? Is this just adjustments to the new regime there? I don't know. I am confused. Should the Rangers be worried about their performance at home? And as a fan, I'm nervous. Yes, the Rangers should be nervous too. This isn't just a few unlucky bounces. What we're seeing is this pattern developing of paralysis on the offensive side of the puck. But the good news, I guess, is that they are dominating the analytics side of things. So eventually the luck will come back around the Rangers' way. I just hope it happens soon. But let me start from the top real quick. It's one thing to struggle on the road. It's one thing to become historically silent on offense at home. 180 straight minutes without scoring at MSG is borderline unfathomable, unimaginable. It's not something I would expect, especially from this New York Rangers team that is fairly aggressive. They've outshot their opponents at MSG total 90-74 in the games they've been shut out, yet can't get anything on the board. That 2-0 loss to Edmonton last night, one that stands out, they recorded those 30 shots. They hit the crossbar not once, not twice, but 3 times. That is some really bad luck, if you ask me. So yes, the worrying part, very valid. You know, you're at home, you're at Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, the place that's supposed to be the major home field, home ice advantage, whatever you want to call it, yet they haven't scored. But you have to take these rebounds, I feel like, have been a really, really detrimental part to the Rangers this season. They haven't been taking nearly enough rebounds. Like, you know, you hit the crossbar 3 times, but where are the follow-up shots? The ones that have a better chance to go in because you're changing the angle the goalie is looking from. But here's where I stand. I'm not ready to say the ceiling has collapsed. We're 5 games through the season. Let's relax a little bit. Let's take a step back. I just saw the Kansas City Chiefs start off 0-2, and now are back to being Super Bowl favorites. So listen, it's a long season, 81 games. We're 5 games through. Rangers taking on the Maple Leafs next. But if I were Mike Sullivan, I'd be wanting more from my lineup, 100%. Better, like, in front of the net presence, more willingness to take that extra shot. You don't need to overthink every shot you're taking. Just take it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Jordan. Or was that LeBron? Probably Michael Jordan. I'm sorry. So, should we be worried? Yeah, I'd say a little bit, but I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking. My voice may be getting a little high, but I'm not panicking. I promise. This Rangers team will be okay. They'll shake it off. That bad luck will come back around, and it's going to become good luck. I saw it with the Yankees. You know, that Aaron Judge drop fly ball. How many drop fly balls did the Blue Jays and the Red Sox have in this postseason? It comes back around. I truly believe what goes around comes around. And for the Rangers, it should be a sign of things getting better. Moving on to the New York Jets, after I just talked about probably the second biggest dumpster fire. This is the dumpster fire in New York, okay? The New York Jets, I think if you look up dumpster fire in the dictionary, a Jets logo just pops up. I'm being completely honest. I'm sorry, Jets fans. You're the only team without a win this season. You're 0-6, and you looked pathetic in London. Absolutely abysmal showing from Justin Fields and Aaron Glenn. After I spoke on it last week, giving them a little leeway, I think that leeway is now gone. Justin Fields is not the guy. They finished with just 82 total yards, including -10 passing yards from scrimmage for Justin Fields. You can't win when you're literally passing the ball backwards. Justin Fields, 9 for 17, 45 yards total, while being sacked 9 different times. Did I just read that right? Justin Fields was sacked 9 different times? That is crazy. Who'd they have on O-line? Probably had the Giants O-line out there, if I were to guess. But the Giants O-line's not an issue anymore. We have the Lombardi Trophy now. We're winning the Super Bowl. On third down, huge issue for the Jets. Again this past Sunday, 2 for 15. You can't win when you're not converting these crucial plays. Third down, that's you can't go 2 for 15. I could go better than 2 for 15 on third down. Hand me the rock, coach. I swear I could throw it 10 yards. Probably not. I'd probably be like Big Nick from The Longest Yard, where he throws the ball backwards. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Not much went right for the Jets. They did have a 72-yard kick return and a perfectly placed punt. So special teams, round of applause for my New York Jets. Head coach Aaron Glenn also praised special teams along with the defense that also held their own, holding the Broncos to 12 points. Should be enough for the Jets to get a win, but the Jets, they're the Jets. A win was never going to happen. But Aaron Glenn said this is something to build on, though he acknowledged that the offense definitely took a major step backwards. But the bigger picture here, if the Jets don't fix this soon, 0-6 can easily turn into 0-17. I don't think so. Going to touch on that in just a second. But I think it's time for Aaron Glenn and the Jets to move on from Justin Fields. When you're worse than Jake Browning, that just got replaced by a 40-year-old Joe Flacco, it's time to take a step back and realize this guy ain't it. Throw Tyrod Taylor in there. I guarantee you he gives a better shot for the Jets to win. All about those adjustments. Coming up. All right. Coming up for the rest of the show. Got more Yankees and Giants talk. But first, it's that magical time again. When logic takes a back seat and the gut takes the wheel, and I start talking like I've got insider info, which believe me, maybe a little bit, from the sports gods themselves, it's time for Landon's Locks. Let's review the picks from last week, shall we? Pick number 1, only loss from this week. Yeah. My only loss this week came to maple syrup, okay? I went 2-1 last week. My one loss was I picked the New York Yankees to win game 4 of the ALDS. They did not. They got taken out by maple syrup. You know, the bats went colder than a Canadian winter, and the Yankees landed up being put in a sticky situation. But hey, the pick that mattered. Get this out of here. You know what? I don't want to see that the rest of the show. The pick that mattered, the New York Giants took down the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday Night Football. If there was one pick you had asked me, which one is most likely to lose, it wouldn't have been the Giants. I'm kidding. I always knew the Giants were going to win. I see into the sports world, okay? I don't just understand sports. I can read them. I can translate them. And that's why I was right about the Rangers against the Sabres. Because the Rangers did take down the Buffalo Sabres. One of the better games this season. You know, obviously not the best start to the season for the New York Rangers. But at least they won the game I picked them to. So yeah, 2-1, trending up. Confidence is high, as you can tell. And now the sports world is talking to me again. I'm hearing the voices. So here are my picks for this week. Pick number 1, Giants over the Broncos. I understand Justin Fields was sacked 9 times. I do. And I understand the Giants' offensive line is not great. I understand that Denver's defense is incredible. But the Giants' offensive line has looked a lot better. They only got sacked twice against the Eagles compared to 8 against the Saints. But the Giants' defense has only allowed 16 points a game and held QBs to a 76.2 passer rating. The defense is definitely doing its thing. I expect them to continue to do its thing against Bo Nix and the Broncos. Take the Giants. Pick 2, Rangers over Maple Leafs. It's time we win a game at MSG, okay? I believe in you, Rangers. I believe in you. The analytics, the numbers are telling me to continue to believe in you, and I still do. So you're taking down the Maple Leafs, and you're breaking that 180-minute drought. Pick 3. They're definitely not winning the Lombardi Trophy this year, but they will beat the Panthers this week. I'm taking the Jets. I'm taking the New York Jets against the Carolina Panthers. If I believe in anyone, I believe in the Jets. Actually, I don't think anyone believes in the Jets. But I'm going to try this week. I am. I want the Jets to win. I feel so incredibly bad for their fans. Going 0-6 is something that not many fan bases could take. But the Jets fan base has taken it very well. Somewhat well. And, you know, they did have 82 total yards. But despite everything, they've ranked 6th in total defense. They're, you know, that defense is going to carry them. I think that's the only argument I can make for the Jets. But no, it's not the only argument I can make for the Jets. Aaron Glenn's going to adjust. If Justin Fields is really your guy, you know, you got to adjust. You got to go with his play style. You know, maybe some quicker passes, some RPOs would help Justin Fields. All he has to do is not get negative passing yards, and I can see the New York Jets taking down the Carolina Panthers. So that'll do it for my picks. I had the Giants, the Jets, and then the Rangers over the Maple Leafs. This has been Landon's Locks, where feelings meet stats, where belief meets heartbreak. And sometimes that belief wins. We'll see how that turns out. All right. Locks are locked. Hope is high. And my morale is officially in danger because of that Jets pick. I'm sorry. I really risked everything on that Jets pick. But I feel like they needed the motivation. And I'm trying to be the spark for the New York Jets. The Jets are about to go 11-0 after this week because of the motivational segment on Landon's Locks. But let's talk about something else that's in danger. Something that's been haunting me is my New York Yankees. Yeah, we're going back. This is probably the last time the maple syrup makes an appearance. And look, the offseason starts now for the Yankees. What's next for the Yankees has been a huge question. Will Aaron Boone still be the manager? Will Brian Cashman still be the GM? So let's break this down. What went wrong in this Blue Jays series? What it says about this team and how the Yankees can make this winter about building a champion. This is going to be really hard for me to say. I got to prepare myself. All right. Someone's got to say it, so I'm going to. The Blue Jays didn't just beat the Yankees, they embarrassed them, okay? They really served us up like pancakes, hence the maple syrup. And Canada. I think the audience gets the connection there. Yeah, let's throw this maple syrup. I never want to see it again. A 5-game series. Toronto wins 3, punched their ticket to the ALCS. Definitely enjoying their struggles against Seattle. But I don't know how much I could hold this to the Yankees. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. played like a video game character. He deserved every bit of gloating he did. I did have some issues with it, but I can't really voice my issues because Vlad backed it up. Vlad was him. He was him. He was that guy. But what does this loss really prove? Does it prove more about the Yankees' cracks being exposed, or does it validate that the Jays built something special? They didn't build anything special. There's a bottle of maple syrup. What can they build? Well, a lot of people are saying the Blue Jays are legit, or they were saying until the first 2 games. You know, they have this home dominance. I spoke on it last week. Actually spoke on it 2 weeks in a row, I think. They have incredible bullpen depth. Had 8 different pitchers against the Yankees in Game 4. That ultimately led them to securing the series victory. But above that, they have the grit. They have the attitude that the Yankees have been lacking in the Aaron Boone era. And that was the major difference. Not anything analytical, not any players on the field, but the energy that these players brought. And that is instilled, wait till I say it again, from the top down. I say this every year. You can't have good energy if you have a guy like Aaron Boone as manager. I get it. He's the player manager. He's the friend. He's an embarrassment. That's what he is. When you have an under 500 record in the postseason, yet you're winning over 100 games multiple times across your first 7 seasons, there's something wrong in the way that you're thinking about the game. You're thinking too much in a regular season mindset. The postseason is a different breed. And if that can't get through to Aaron Boone, it's time to kick him out the door. And with him, bring Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman's pretty small. Throw him in a duffel bag, throw him out the door too. An utter embarrassment from Aaron Boone. I said as a joke at the beginning of the show, this is probably the stickiest situation the Yankees have been in since Aaron Boone managed a bullpen with duct tape and vibes. But that's the truth. I don't think I've ever seen someone manage a bullpen quite as poorly as Aaron Boone has done in his playoff tenure with the New York Yankees. I recall the 2024 Game 1 of the World Series where he brought in Nestor Cortez over Tim Hill, who induced the most ground balls out of any relief pitcher. Yet they decide to bring in Nestor Cortez, who had been on the bench the past month, rehabbing an injury, hadn't seen game action since the end of August, early September, to bring in one of the most prolific hitters, not only hitters, but playoff hitters in Freddie Freeman. And those decisions carried over to this year. You brought in Will Warren, a guy who has a generationally bad experience against the Toronto Blue Jays, to be the guy to mop it up after you get down 6-0. Guess what? You didn't have to throw that game away, Aaron Boone, because the Yankees ended up scoring 6 runs. And guess what? The Blue Jays were up 6-0. The game could have been tied. It could have been a brand new game. Not only a brand new game, but a brand new series for the Yankees if Aaron Boone had just thought this through a little bit more. I'm sorry, I got a little worked up there. But so back to that original question. So I think I strayed off a little bit. Does this loss prove more about the Yankees or the Blue Jays? I think it's a bigger lesson for the Yankees. I think it really exposed them. I think it really embarrassed them to be that poor against a single team. 4-8 this season against the Blue Jays. That's bad. That was the reason you didn't get the bye and Toronto got the bye, was because of that head-to-head record versus Toronto. Aaron Boone did not do enough. The Yankees did not do enough. And until I see something else, besides the things I've seen happen over and over again, the past 7 years that Aaron Boone has been here, the Yankees will continue to come up short in October. So some big moves coming out of the Garden. Giannis Antetokounmpo, not very happy with his situation in Milwaukee, says he would love to come to the New York Knicks. So last season, the Knicks really catapulted themselves into the championship contender category. You had Jalen Brunson has the clutch gene. Look up clutch. Jalen Brunson's face shows up. Like I said, look up dumpster fire. The Jets show up. At least we got something good in the dictionary. We got Jalen Brunson. We had him. We had Karl Anthony Towns come in, make an impact in his first season. You had great depth in OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart, but they came up just short. Brought in a new coach in Mike Brown this year to maybe switch things up, better utilize that bench. A huge criticism of Tom Thibodeau was that he didn't use his bench. Sullivan or Brown looking to change that. Sorry, both Sullivan and Brown. There's 2 new Mikes coaching in New York. All right, so let's talk hypotheticals here. Giannis says he wants to come here. The big question is Giannis really the missing piece the Knicks need? I don't care. Bring him here. Let's see. Anyone but Jalen Brunson. That's what I'd offer. Anyone but Jalen Brunson. Sign and dot. I do not care if Giannis is the missing piece or not. I personally think he is. I think you add that big man, a true star. What I think Karl Anthony Towns is just under for a big man. Giannis is different. He's elite in two directions, offense and defense. He would be a major upgrade even over Cat. But in reality, it's really not that simple. The Knicks are in a really bad cap situation. Milwaukee's probably going to be a little bit more reluctant to let go of Giannis, even though it's notable to say that his family is living in Greece this season. I don't know how happy Giannis is going to be. And if that will affect his play on the court, I think we're just going to have to wait and see on that. You know, so Giannis is unhappy. Knicks fans want to be happy. Let's make something work. Let's make a deal. There's still more to come in the last 10 minutes of Empire State of Sports. Wish I had more time to talk on Giannis. I'll probably talk more on that next week. Might have some more news next week regarding Giannis, but I wanted to talk about it at least a little bit. I definitely took too long on some of my topics today. But another team in the trade market, the New York Giants, are in the market for a receiver. Some names being thrown out there: Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, just a couple of names. Let's start with the context here. Obviously, the Giants just had a great win over Philly, but their star receiver, Malik Neighbors, is hurt. So if the Giants really think that they got a chance at this little trophy, they're going to need to go get a receiver. This is not a sustainable style of play without a number one receiver. Malik Neighbors was leading his team in catches with 16, 251 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the most consistent target, and now he's gone. So how do we bring that consistency back to the table? You trade for a wide receiver. Statistically, the Giants receivers have not been great, especially since Malik has been hurt. 122 receptions for 1,294 yards this season, an average of about 10.6 yards per catch. That is respectable, but not game-changing. On top of that, now Darius Slayton is hurt, did not play against the Eagles last Thursday, is questionable this Sunday against the Broncos. So that leaves really Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt to pair along with that elite running game of Cam Skattebo and Jackson Dart. So who's the guy the Giants can realistically go get? I say throw a second round 2026 pick at the Dolphins and say, give me Waddle. Mike McDaniels isn't taking the Dolphins anywhere. Jalen Waddle has shown promises of being a possible number one receiver. So let's give him a shot. We don't even have a possibility as a number one receiver. So might as well go out there, offer what you can for Waddle. I think a second round 2026 pick gets it done. I think maybe even a third round 2026 pick gets it done for Waddle. Let's see what we got there. In terms of Olave doesn't do much for me. When you lead the league in receptions, but your yards are that low, it shows me you're a mediocre player that's getting too many targets. Sorry, Olave. Someone's going to overpay for you. And I hope you do well wherever you go, because I believe in you. Last topic. Gotta bring up the Mets. Last offseason, I gave the Mets a lot of flack for how they treated Alonso. And I think Alonso still remembers it. I spoke about it with Christian a few weeks back. Alonso offered a 7-year, $150 million extension, declines it, elects to go to free agency. And the Mets pretty much make him wait until spring training until they offer him that bailout 2-year deal, with the second year being an option. He opts out of that $54 million deal, and it worked out. He was an elite bat this year. So if he leaves, the Mets lose a marquee bat in a lineup that already struggled despite the star-studded power in that lineup. So, yeah, I think last offseason, making the priority Juan Soto and nothing else not only hurt the team's structure, but hurt Pete Alonso and the fact that, hey, I'm the homegrown guy. I'm the guy that got everyone back into the ballpark. I'm the jersey you see in Citi Field. Not Juan Soto. This guy just got here. So, yes, there is a little bit of disrespect when it comes down to the Mets and Pete Alonso. And players are a lot less likely to take that lightly because of the massive sports landscape we have now and the fact that everything gets out. You can't hide anything. So the Mets probably didn't think that highly of Alonso last offseason, but now seeing that they need any help they can get in that lineup, they're begging for Alonso to come back. They're begging for that 7-year, $150 million deal to come back around and for him to sign his name on the line. I don't think that's enough for Alonso now. I think he gets 7 years, around 200. 7 years being the mark that Alonso and Boris Corp are looking for. So going to be interesting to see what the Mets do there. This is a really weird situation. This is where I'm going to end things. I'm going to start playing the music. The Giants are at a crossroads. They've shown flashes, Scatterboo, Dart, glimpses of a fight, glimpses of a future that has this trophy in it. But losing Neighbors, Slayton, and the underwhelming wide receiver production we are getting, there are definitely cracks in the foundation that the Giants can address and hopefully will address if they are serious about contending this year. If they don't get a weapon, a receiver, this offense will be at a plateau. They will regress. And in the NFC East in the postseason, you can't win with just potential. You need the players on the field. Meanwhile, in New York's baseball corner, Alonso's saga is a cautionary tale to teams. How do franchises value their stars? Balance that risk and reward factor that is ever looming, manage leverage, and honor both performance on the field and the business aspect. So as we head into next week, engines are warming. Giants fans should be watching trades, reading rumors, and hoping the front office has the conviction they do after last Thursday. Because with injuries, this margin for error and a new wave of teams rising, especially in the NFC, hesitation will become failure. Next week, we'll continue to watch these moves, rumors, and decision points. But for now, the most important question for Big Blue, when do they stop hoping things fall into place and start forcing that better place? I'm Landon Popovic from WIUR. This is Empire State of Sports. signing off.